Personal protective equipment. How many of us take it seriously? Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics show that 84% of workers who sustained head injuries were not wearing hard hats at the time. 99% of workers suffering face injuries were not wearing face protection. 77% of workers with foot injuries were not wearing safety shoes or boots. 60% of workers with eye injuries were not wearing protective equipment. The majority of these workers were injured while performing their normal jobs at regular work sites. These statistics just go to show, if you're exposed to workplace hazards, you'd better take personal protective equipment seriously. Personal protective equipment includes all clothing or other work accessories designed to create a barrier against workplace hazards. Examples include hard hats, goggles, face shields, earplugs, steel-toed shoes, and respirators. There are as many types of personal protective equipment as there are workplace hazards. To be effective, personal protective equipment must be of the appropriate type for the hazard encountered. Take eye and face protection, for example. Eye and face injuries are caused by flying particles, molten metal, liquid chemicals, acids or caustic liquids, chemical gases or vapors, potentially injurious light radiation, or a combination of these. When selecting eyewear, goggles with side shields, goggles with face shields, choose the type that will best protect you against known hazards. Also make sure the eyewear fits properly. Eyewear that fits snugly and comfortably and offers the right protection in the right places will be there for you when you need it most. Now let's talk about head protection. Prevention of head injuries is an important factor in every safety program. Head injuries are caused by falling or flying objects or by bumping the head against a fixed object. Head protection in the form of protective hats must do two things: resist penetration and absorb the shock of a blow. To accomplish this, protective hats have a shell that is hard enough to resist the blow and a shock-absorbing lining composed of headband and crown straps to keep the shell away from the wearer's skull. Head protection is also available, which provides protection from electric shock and burn. If you plan to work around electrical hazards, select a hat that has been proof-tested for the voltage to which you will be exposed, such as a Class A or Class B hard hat. Now let's talk about protection for the arms and the hands. Examples of injuries to the arms and hands are burns, cuts, electrical shock, and absorption of chemicals. The most common type of protection against these injuries is gloves. However, no glove provides protection against all potential hand hazards, and commonly available glove materials provide only limited protection against many chemicals. Therefore, when selecting protective equipment for the hands, choose the most appropriate glove for a particular application. Also, know how long the glove can be worn and whether it can be reused. If you are in an occupation that requires special protection, make sure you use recommended protective devices. Electricians, for instance, may need insulated rubber gloves to protect against shocks and burns. Another part of the body that may need protection from workplace hazards is the foot. Hazards to the feet include falling or rolling objects, sharp objects, molten metal, hot surfaces, and wet, slippery surfaces. Again, when selecting protective footwear, select the device to fit the job. If you carry or handle heavy materials or tools which could be dropped, choose safety shoes or boots with impact protection. If you work around heavy pipes, paper rolls, or equipment which could potentially roll over your feet, wear safety shoes or boots with compression protection. If your feet are exposed to sharp objects, such as nails, wire, tacks, screws, large staples, or scrap metal, choose safety shoes or boots with puncture protection. Whatever footwear you select, make sure it fits comfortably. Many of us spend all day on our feet. If we take care of them, they'll take care of us. Still, another form of personal protective equipment available is hearing protection. Exposure to high noise levels can cause hearing loss or impairment. It can also create physical and psychological stress. The best protection against occupational noise is earplugs or earmuffs. Selection criteria depend on the type of noise encountered and the auditory condition of the employee. If your company has a hearing conservation program, be sure to use recommended protective devices. Remember, there is no cure for noise-induced hearing loss. The only way to avoid hearing damage is prevention. When using personal protective equipment, any personal protective equipment, keep in mind that equipment alone does not eliminate the hazard. If the equipment fails, exposure will occur. To reduce the possibility of failure, make sure equipment fits properly and keep it in a clean and serviceable condition. Inspect personal protective equipment for defects before each use. If the equipment is defective in any way, avoid using it until it has been repaired or replaced. Personal protective equipment is designed to help protect you from workplace hazards. To enjoy the full benefit of personal protective equipment, know the hazards present in your workplace, know what type of equipment will best protect you from these hazards, know the limitations of that equipment, follow directions for use, and keep the equipment in good condition. Remember, to be effective, personal protective equipment must be used and used correctly. This is James Drury, reminding you to take care and be safe.